I hope my audience will get some sense of what it's like to take decisions at the topmost level, and some feeling for what goes on inside the room when members of the Monetary Policy Committee make those very difficult decisions about what should happen to interest rates. That's the main thing, I think, what people will get from listening to me, rather than any other economist, talk about the current situation. I've had that intimate involvement in the policy-making process quite recently. I mean, the nature of taking decisions about interest rates is, you have to put together it's not a scientific process, ultimately, even though it's based on very detailed and careful analysis of all the evidence. There's nothing scientific about, in the final analysis, about the decision that has to be taken about something as complex as a modern economy. You piece together a lot of pretty unsatisfactory evidence. It may be out of date, it may be partial, it may be unreliable. You put together as much of it as you possibly can. It's a kaleidoscope. You try and make sense of it all. And at the end of the day, though, an active judgment is required. So who you are and what your sort of personality is makes a difference to the decision that you're going to take. And I guess that's the same in business as well. We're all dealing with a lot of uncertainty and a lot of very incomplete evidence. At the end of the day, human beings have a sort of leap of judgment, and an intuition comes into it, and experience and personality, as well as cold facts. The financial crisis that we've been going through since August 2007 is a big deal. It's a major event. It's the biggest financial crisis certainly since the 1930s. It may in the end turn out to be the biggest global financial crisis ever. So, if you're talking about the convulsions in financial markets, this is a pretty extreme event. It's not clear yet what impact it's going to have on the real economy, though. I mean, the connection between financial crisis and the real economy is not precise. It's not tight. There have been financial crises which have really had rather little effect. I don't think this is going to be one of those. I think the way in which the crisis has affected the core of the banking system, the way in which the credit system is frozen, this is going to have quite a major impact on real activity. So we will have a recession. How bad it will be, I think, does remain to be seen. I think policymakers have thrown everything at it. Policy has been, interest rates have been really aggressively cut, particularly since oil prices fell back from last June onwards. There's been a huge amount of liquidity pumped into the system, and more to the point, I think the signal's gone out that policymakers are going to do what it takes to stop the economy sliding into a deep and prolonged recession. And also the falling oil prices will act like a stimulus. It acts like a tax cut almost. It's going to boost people's incomes. So, there's been some pretty powerful medicine administered, and sometime it will take effect. So we'll see. We'll see how bad the recession is going to be. I think it's had a very big impact on people's sort of psychology there, because it's a very long time since we've had any kind of recession in this country. We've had 16 years when the economy has grown quarter after quarter. Every year the economy has grown by 2.5%, 3%. And, we seem to be living in a new golden age. And that's come to an end now. That, I think, people have kind of forgotten what a recession is like. We've had one quarter now where output has fallen by 0.5%, and that's had a very unnerving effect on people. We've got a generation of young people who've never experienced a recession, really. First of all, we need to see the credit system beginning to thaw. We need to see banks beginning to lend to each other. That's the precursor of them being willing to lend to us again, if you like. I mean, credit has been contracting in the economy. That needs to start to go into to reverse. So getting the credit system going again is absolutely fundamental. I think the other area where you know, there needs to be, we will be looking for the thing to stabilise, but is probably the housing market, which has been falling back very, very sharply. Those are the two areas. The equity market, you know, it'll turn before the economy turns, but it's not, you know, it isn't quite on the critical path in the way that the credit system is.